The old radio telescope stood silent against the starry sky, its massive dish pointing towards the vast, infinite darkness of space. The cold desert air of New Mexico surrounded it, the only sounds the occasional rustling of papers or the hum of equipment within the station's control room. Jack Wilson, the technician on duty, had worked here for over 15 years, spending countless nights in solitude, monitoring the static and receiving signals that often seemed no more than random noise. It had been a quiet shift so far, much like every other shift. He was just about to finish his last cup of cold coffee when something strange happened. The signals came in waves, unlike anything Jack had ever heard in all his years at the station. At first, he thought it was a glitch. After all, the equipment was old, and it wouldn't be the first time that faulty machinery had produced bizarre interference. But this wasn't a glitch. As Jack adjusted his thick-rimmed glasses and checked the standard diagnostic reports, his hands began to shake. This was real. His mind raced as he stared at the patterns on the screen. This couldn't be right. The pattern was too structured, too regular to be random. The frequency and rhythm of the pulses were almost deliberate. He quickly ran a few more checks, hoping that it was a mistake, but the signal persisted, unrelenting. Jack knew he had to act, but a sense of hesitation crept in. This was unlike anything he'd encountered before. After a moment of deliberation, he picked up the phone to call his supervisor, but he paused, putting the receiver back down. What would they think? They would probably laugh at him, just like they did with poor Bill, who last summer had claimed to hear alien music on the radio waves. Jack had been part of that laugh back then, and now he wasn't sure if this was different, if this was something worth taking seriously. But the signal kept coming. It was undeniable. 3 hours later, the control room had transformed. Scientists, engineers, and government officials flooded the room. It wasn't just Jack who had been monitoring the signal anymore. The pattern had been confirmed by 4 other listening stations across the globe. The atmosphere was thick with tension and anticipation as they worked tirelessly to decode the transmission. Dr. Helen Reed, the station's lead scientist, stood in front of the main screen, her silver hair glowing faintly under the blue light from the monitor. Her expression was calm, but Jack could sense the weight of the moment in her eyes. "It's a message," Dr. Reed said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "And it's coming from our own solar system." The room went silent. Jack felt his heart race. The implications of that statement were too enormous to fully grasp, yet they were here, in front of him. This wasn't some cosmic anomaly, some far-off signal from a distant star system. No, this message was coming from somewhere within the reach of their very own planets, from within the grasp of humanity's tiny corner of the universe. The message, once decoded, was chilling in its simplicity. "Our fleet requires assistance. We are stranded in what you call the Oort cloud. Please respond if you can receive this transmission." The room filled with murmurs of disbelief, but Jack could barely process the meaning of it. These beings, aliens who had mastered faster-than-light travel and constructed ships the size of cities, were stranded at the very edge of the solar system, sending out a distress call to Earth, a planet they had considered too primitive to contact just months ago. The news spread quickly. Within hours, the world's major space agencies were involved. The message carefully relayed to global leaders, scientists, and military officials. It was an unprecedented moment in human history. The aliens had sent their distress signal using basic radio technology that Earth had mastered decades ago, something that seemed laughable when considering the scale of the alien ships stranded out there. These ships were far beyond anything Earth had ever built. A fleet of such scale, each vessel housing thousands of individuals from various species, was stuck, incapacitated by a simple mechanical failure. As the days wore on, the gravity of the situation became clear. These beings, who had thought themselves superior to humans in almost every way, were now dependent on Earth for help. The aliens, who had the capability to travel faster than light, had faced a failure in their quantum drive systems, a failure they couldn't repair on their own. Despite their mastery of artificial gravity and quantum mechanics, they needed help from a species that had, until recently, been considered beneath them technologically. They needed help from humans who still relied on old-fashioned mechanical skills to fix things. General Roberts addressed the world's leaders during an emergency session. "They've been watching us," he said grimly. "Their messages indicate they've observed Earth for decades. But they've always considered us too technologically immature for formal contact." His voice carried an edge of disbelief as he continued, "And now they need our help." The room was silent for a moment as the implications sank in. The question on everyone's mind was simple: what could humans possibly offer these advanced beings? The answer came quickly, though, when the next transmission arrived. The aliens explained that, despite their advanced technology, their engineers were stumped by what they thought was a simple problem. The failure was mechanical, not a complex issue of quantum physics or energy manipulation. They were unable to solve it using their standard methods. This was where humanity came in. They needed a fresh perspective, a new way of thinking. Something humans might have, considering their past struggles with mechanical challenges. It seemed that humanity's resourcefulness, born of generations of overcoming limited means, had prepared them for a challenge that these beings could not solve with their superior technology. As the news spread around the world, reactions varied. Some people were excited by the possibility of contact with extraterrestrials, while others were scared, unsure of what this meeting might mean for humanity's future. Religious leaders held emergency meetings, speculating about the implications of this cosmic encounter. Meanwhile, stock markets fluctuated wildly, and social media exploded with theories and speculation about the aliens and their motives. But in the scientific community, something remarkable began to happen. Pride. For the first time, humans had something to offer. A solution, a skill set, a way of thinking, that the supposedly superior alien species could not provide for themselves. Humanity had, through centuries of struggle and trial, developed a unique ability to solve problems using mechanical innovation and creative thinking. The alien fleet, with all their advanced technology, were now depending on humans. The International Space Agency quickly organized a response team. They gathered Earth's best engineers, mechanics, and problem solvers to address the situation. This wasn't just about helping stranded travelers, it was humanity's chance to prove it deserved a place among the stars. The world's governments understood the significance of this opportunity. A new chapter in human history was about to begin. One where Earth might not just be a forgotten world on the edge of the galaxy, but an essential player in the cosmic community. As the sun set over the New Mexico desert, Jack Wilson stood outside the listening station, staring up at the sky. Somewhere up there, beyond the stars, an advanced alien civilization waited for help from the very species they had once dismissed as primitive. He smiled to himself, thinking about how sometimes the simplest solutions come from the most unexpected places. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. The alien shuttle appeared exactly on time, emerging from the clouds like a silver Taurus, its smooth and sleek design glinting under the sunlight. It was smaller than expected, about the size of a passenger jet, but it moved with a grace that made even Earth's most advanced aircraft seem clumsy by comparison. It was like watching a bird glide effortlessly through the air, each motion precise and deliberate. As it approached the International Space Station, the tension inside the control room was palpable. Captain Thomas Ray and his team watched through live feeds as the docking procedure unfolded. It was almost too perfect. An elegant dance of technology between two species from vastly different worlds. There was no misstep, no delay, nothing out of place. When the airlock finally opened and the first alien entered the station, the moment felt surreal. For the first time, Earth met its first visitors from the stars. They weren't what anyone had expected. The first alien to enter was tall and slim, its body slender and elongated, with 4 arms. Its skin shimmered in an iridescent sheen, shifting colors like oil on water. The way it moved was almost hypnotic, graceful, as though it had always belonged in the vacuum of space. Behind it came 2 others, each as different as night is from day. One appeared almost plant-like, its skin resembling bark, with eyes that were the color of fresh leaves, green and full of life. The other, in contrast, seemed almost liquid, its form flowing like water, fluid and barely solid. Commander Wells, the station's commanding officer, stood at the front of the group, her composure steady despite the historic nature of the encounter. "Welcome to Earth's International Space Station," she said, her voice calm and controlled. "I am Commander Wells and this is our team." The first alien stepped forward and spoke. Its voice was strange, musical, and carried an otherworldly quality to it. A small device at its throat translated the words into perfect English. "I am first speaker," it announced, "with me are chief builder and life keeper." There was a note of formality in its words, but also a hint of something else. Something unspoken, perhaps. "We appreciate your response to our distress call," first speaker added, though the way it said "appreciate" made it clear that the aliens were not pleased with having to rely on humans for help. Chief Builder, the plant-like alien, stepped forward and activated a hologram in front of the group. The image displayed a fleet of massive ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. It was a breathtaking sight, 37 ships in total, each one home to thousands of beings from 15 different species. They had been stranded in deep space after their quantum drive systems failed in ways their engineers couldn't understand. The magnitude of their situation was clear, but there was a certain tension in the air. These beings who had once deemed Earth too primitive to contact, were now relying on humans for help. Our situation is critical, Chief Builder explained, its bark-like skin creaking slightly as it spoke. These 37 ships carry over 200,000 beings. We are stranded in your Oort cloud. Our quantum drive systems are failing and we cannot repair them. Captain Ray studied the hologram carefully, analyzing the data with the intensity of a seasoned engineer. Can you show us the drive systems? He asked, trying to hide his excitement. This was technology beyond human comprehension, a glimpse into a new frontier of science and engineering. The aliens exchanged looks, their silent communication speaking volumes. They were hesitant to share such advanced technology with a species they still considered less developed. Finally, first speaker nodded, as if conceding to Ray's request. We will show you, it said, but understand these systems are far beyond your current technological level. The hologram shifted, displaying intricate schematics of their quantum drive and artificial gravity systems, each component more complex than anything humanity had ever conceived. As Ray scanned the data, his eyes caught something that didn't quite make sense. Beneath all the advanced quantum technology and artificial gravity generators, there were basic mechanical systems, joints, bearings, and structural supports, that seemed eerily familiar. These were components humans used in their own engineering projects. Ray's mind raced as he pointed to the screen. What about these supporting structures? He asked. Have you checked them? Chief Builder dismissed the question almost immediately. Those are primitive components, it said. The problem must lie in the quantum matrix or the field generators. Ray exchanged glances with his engineering team. Maria Das, a structural engineer, furrowed her brow. Bill Cooper, an old mechanic with a lifetime of experience, nodded slowly. It was becoming clearer. Sometimes the simplest problems could disable the most advanced systems. The old lessons from Earth's engineers rang true. Mechanical failures could often be the root cause of catastrophic breakdowns in even the most complex technologies. Ray turned back to first speaker, his voice measured. Would you allow our team to inspect these primitive components? He asked. Sometimes fresh eyes see things others miss. The aliens held another silent exchange, and after a long pause, Lifekeeper, who had remained quiet up until this point, moved forward. Its fluid, water-like form rippled as it spoke, its voice as serene as the ocean's surface. We have watched your species, Captain Ray, Lifekeeper said, its tone both gentle and probing. You still use fossil fuels? You haven't mastered gravity. Your ships barely reach your own moon. Why should we trust your inspection? Ray smiled, though there was a touch of humility in his expression. Because, he said with a chuckle, sometimes the best mechanics are the ones who still know how to use a wrench. The alien's skin flickered rapidly, a sign of surprise, though Ray wasn't sure whether the emotion was positive or negative. After a long moment, first speaker spoke again, its voice steady. Very well, it said. You may inspect our ships. But understand this, if you damage our vessels or if this proves to be a waste of time, there will be consequences. Ray's team began preparing for the mission, and though the weight of the responsibility hung heavy in the air, there was an undercurrent of excitement. This wasn't just a chance to help an alien civilization, it was humanity's first real opportunity to prove itself in the galactic community. The work that lay ahead would not be about advanced technology, but about the simple, fundamental skills that had helped humanity survive and thrive since the dawn of civilization. The ability to fix things, to understand how machines worked at a fundamental level, would be Earth's contribution to the galaxy. The journey to the alien fleet took 3 days. Captain Ray and his small team of engineers spent the time poring over the schematics they had been given, studying the intricacies of the quantum systems and mechanical support structures. Bill Cooper, the veteran mechanic, pointed to a holographic display of the quantum drive support structure. Look at this, he said, his weathered hands moving through the blue light of the hologram as he zoomed in on the image. See how these joints connect. Reminds me of the old Saturn V rockets. Maria Das nodded, her sharp eyes focused on the details. Basic physics doesn't change even for advanced aliens, she said. These support beams still have to handle stress and strain. As their shuttle approached the fleet, everyone fell silent. Through the viewport they could see the alien ships for the first time. Each one was like a floating city, its massive hulls gleaming under the distant sunlight. Even this far from the sun, they shimmered with an otherworldly glow. Chief Builder, who had accompanied them on the shuttle, noticed their awe. Each ship carries a different species, it explained. Our cultures may be different, but we learn to live together among the stars. At least until now. The shuttle docked with the main vessel, and the human team stepped into a massive chamber. The room seemed to stretch on forever, its ceiling so high that it disappeared into the darkness above. "Welcome to the Unity," first speaker said, its skin shifting colors in a subtle display of emotion. The humans, now standing in the heart of the alien fleet, could only imagine what lay ahead. This was a moment in history, a chance to prove that the simplest solutions could sometimes be the most effective. The hum of the alien ship's systems was interrupted by a deep rumble, a low vibration that reverberated through the walls, shaking the entire vessel. Warning lights blinked on in rapid succession, casting an eerie red glow across the metallic surfaces. Alien crew members rushed to various control panels, their movements sharp and purposeful as they scrambled to respond to yet another system's failure. Chief Builder, his bark-like skin dimming in concern, turned to the team of human engineers. "The quantum matrix is becoming more unstable," Chief Builder announced, its voice tinged with worry. The words hung in the air, the gravity of the situation clear. Ray, trying to keep his composure in the face of this mounting crisis, glanced around at the chaos in the room. "Take us to the drive room," he requested firmly, sensing the urgency that hung thick in the air. His team had been here long enough to know that the situation was deteriorating fast. The alien engineers led them through the corridors of the ship. The passageways seemed to bend and twist in ways that defied the rules of space and time as the human team followed the aliens in silence. The ship's interior was unlike anything they had ever seen. A vast network of glowing walls, crystalline structures, and intricate, almost mystical technology that made human systems seem primitive by comparison. When they finally arrived at the drive room, it was even more awe-inspiring. The chamber stretched out in every direction, a vast expanse filled with alien technology that looked almost like magic to the human eyes. Streams of light flowed between crystalline structures, refracting and scattering in mesmerizing patterns as if the very fabric of space was being manipulated. Alien engineers worked frantically at control panels, their movements quick and deliberate, their eyes never leaving the glowing screens. Maria, the structural engineer, moved toward the support structures around the main quantum drive housing. She studied the material carefully, her brow furrowed. "These supports are showing stress patterns," she said, her voice filled with the realization of something that no one else had noticed. Bill, the seasoned mechanic who had worked on everything from tractors to space shuttles, moved closer. He pulled out an old magnetic scanner from his toolkit, a simple, outdated device compared to the sophisticated technology around them. The aliens watched with what seemed like amusement, as if humoring the human visitors. Bill ignored them, focusing instead on the readings on the scanner. "Captain, look at this," he called out excitedly. "Remember the vibration issues we had with the Global Explorer engines last year? These readings are showing something similar." Ray moved over to Bill, glancing at the scanner's display. The pattern was undeniably familiar: harmonic vibration. It was something every engineer learned about in basic training. Ray's mind raced as he began to piece the puzzle together. "The alien quantum drive is generating vibrations," Ray explained, his voice steady despite the enormity of the situation. "These vibrations are destabilizing the physical support structure. It's like a bridge collapsing under wind resistance or a wine glass shattering from the right musical note." Chief Builder's eyes flickered with skepticism. "Impossible," it declared. "Our quantum calculations are perfect. The system has been thoroughly analyzed." Ray, though, remained calm. "The quantum field is perfect," he replied confidently. "But the physical structure holding everything together is being damaged by the harmonic vibrations. If you don't dampen these vibrations, the whole thing will collapse." "It's simple physics?" Maria nodded in agreement. "The quantum calculations may be flawless," she said, "but you've overlooked the physical systems. Sometimes the simplest things can bring down even the most advanced technology." Bill smiled as he waved the scanner over different sections of the support structure, each reading confirming the same pattern of harmonic stress. "We can fix this," Ray said, his voice brimming with confidence. "We just need to apply some basic solutions: reinforced joints, vibration dampeners, and a bit of old-fashioned welding." First speaker's color-shifting skin flickered rapidly, its form shifting in ways that suggested both confusion and skepticism. "You want to use welding on our quantum drive housing?" First speaker asked, its voice tinged with disbelief. "Our engineers have perfected the quantum field. Your primitive tools will only make things worse." Bill, unfazed by the alien's incredulity, replied with a gentle smile. "Sometimes the best solutions are the simple ones." The aliens exchanged looks, their silent communication like an unsolvable puzzle. After what seemed like an eternity, first speaker turned back to Ray. Very well, it said, its voice barely hiding the mixture of hope and doubt. Show us this simple solution of yours. Ray glanced at his team, seeing the same determination in their eyes. This was their moment. The human team was about to repair the most advanced technology in the galaxy, using tools that the aliens probably considered relics of an ancient past. Let's get to work, Ray said, opening his toolkit. Sometimes being primitive has its advantages. The next week on Earth was unlike any in human history. Every major space agency worked around the clock, preparing for what was dubbed Operation Bootstrap. Retired space shuttles were pulled from museums, and old launch pads that had been abandoned for years were brought back to life. NASA's main hangar was a hive of activity as the preparation for the mission reached a fever pitch. Captain Ray watched as teams of engineers and technicians loaded equipment into the cargo holds of the shuttles. Unlike the sleek, advanced technology of the aliens, the tools they were using were simple, functional, and well-tested. Welding gear, mechanical dampeners, steel supports, each item had been carefully selected and retested. They couldn't afford any failures. Bill Cooper, the veteran mechanic, stood by a crate of specialized welding rods, shaking his head in disbelief. "It feels strange, doesn't it?" he said, his voice filled with a mixture of amusement and awe. "We're going to fix the most advanced ships in the galaxy with equipment that hasn't changed in 50 years? Ray nodded, his mind focused on the task at hand. He checked the launch schedule on his tablet. "We have 20 shuttles prepared," he said. "Each one is carrying teams of Earth's best mechanics and engineers. The selection process was unusual. We're not looking for theoretical physicists or quantum mechanics experts. We need people who know how to fix things with their hands." Maria Doss, the structural engineer, ran across the hangar floor, her voice urgent. "Captain, you need to see this. The test results are in from the vibration simulations." She gestured toward her laptop, where a 3D model of their proposed solution was displayed. The computer simulation confirmed their theory. Simple mechanical dampeners and reinforced joints could absorb the quantum drive's harmonic vibrations. "It's like putting shock absorbers on a quantum engine," Maria explained, pointing to the design on the screen. The aliens were so focused on the complex parts of the drive that they overlooked the basics of physics. They forgot that, even for quantum technology, simple mechanical principles still apply. Above them, through the massive windows of the hangar, they could see spacecraft from around the world arriving. Russian Soyuz rockets, Chinese Long March vehicles, European spaceplanes. Every nation was contributing what they could to the effort. First Speaker and Chief Builder, who had remained on Earth to oversee the mission, entered the hangar. Their reactions to the primitive preparations were unreadable, but their concern was unmistakable. Chief Builder walked up to a crate, picked up a wrench and inspected it closely. "These tools," it said, its voice filled with incredulity, "they are so basic. Our engineers use quantum alignment tools that can adjust molecules." Bill, without missing a beat, smiled and took the wrench from Chief Builder's hands. "Sometimes basic is better," he replied, his voice calm and confident. The alien's expression seemed to flicker for a moment, its color-shifting skin betraying a hint of something. Whether it was surprise, curiosity, or doubt, Ray wasn't sure. But one thing was certain: humanity had made its mark in the galaxy. And perhaps, just perhaps, it would be the simple solutions that would save the day. The clang of metal and the hum of machinery filled the air as Bill Cooper, the grizzled veteran mechanic, spun the wrench in his hand, feeling its familiar weight. No complex circuits, no quantum fields to align, just solid, straightforward mechanics. The simplicity of the tool in his hand stood in stark contrast to the advanced alien technology that surrounded him. The alien leaders, First Speaker and Chief Builder, watched in silence, their expressions difficult to read, but their eyes flickered with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Ray, standing alongside his team, couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The humans had come to fix the most advanced spacecraft ever encountered by humanity, not with cutting-edge technology, but with the old-fashioned tools and knowledge that had built the foundations of human engineering. The hangar was a flurry of activity as teams of workers moved with practiced efficiency. Their hands were skilled from years of experience, checking equipment, testing tools, and running through procedures they had practiced hundreds of times before. Each task was part of the preparation for what would be humanity's most ambitious undertaking yet. The human teams, composed of engineers and mechanics from 20 different countries, were working with one goal in mind: to fix the alien fleet's quantum drive systems using nothing more than basic principles of physics and good old-fashioned mechanical know-how. First Speaker, its shifting colors reflecting the various hues of curiosity and admiration, spoke up. "Your species continues to surprise us," it admitted, its voice a mix of awe and skepticism. "When we first detected your civilization, we saw only primitive beings burning fossil fuels. But now," it trailed off, its colors shifting again, perhaps signaling a realization. "Now you see that sometimes the old ways have value." Ray smiled and nodded. He completed the thought for the alien leader. "Every mechanic learns that fancy tools don't matter if you don't understand the basics," he said, his voice filled with conviction. It was a lesson that had been passed down through generations of engineers and craftsmen, and now, as the Earth's best repair crews prepared to embark on their mission, it was that knowledge that would give them the edge over the advanced, but flawed alien technology they were about to work on. The preparation continued day and night with unwavering focus. Teams practiced their procedures in underwater tanks, simulating the zero-gravity conditions they would encounter on the alien ships. Others worked in vacuum chambers, testing their welding techniques under space-like conditions. Every step of the operation had been meticulously planned, and every possible problem had been anticipated. The human teams knew the stakes were high. If they failed, it could mean the end of humanity's first real contact with alien species, and the failure of the entire alien fleet stranded in space. On the final day of preparation, Captain Ray stood before the assembled teams. Engineers and mechanics from around the world, each chosen for their practical skills rather than their academic credentials, gathered in the hangar, ready for what was to come. Their task was unlike anything humanity had ever attempted before, but the teams were confident. They had worked for weeks to prepare, refining their techniques, double-checking their equipment, and honing their skills. "We're about to attempt something unprecedented," Ray said, his voice echoing across the vast hangar. He gestured toward the sleek, alien ships visible through the large windows of the hangar. "Those ships up there," he continued, "are more advanced than anything we've ever seen. But their problem isn't complex. It's basic physics, the kind of thing we've been dealing with since we first started building machines." He paused for a moment, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. "We're not going up there because we're the most advanced," he added. "We're going because we remember how to solve problems with our hands and our minds. The aliens forgot about the simple things. We haven't." The teams cheered, their confidence swelling in response to Ray's words. As they began boarding the spacecraft that would take them to the alien ships, the excitement was palpable. First speaker approached Ray one last time before the launch. Its voice, usually so calm and measured, now held a tinge of uncertainty. "Captain," it said, its translator struggling to convey its tone, "if this works, it will change how the coalition views humanity." Ray smiled, the weight of the task ahead not lost on him. "It's not about changing how you view us," he replied, his tone steady and assured. "It's about remembering that progress doesn't mean forgetting the basics." He watched as the last of the equipment was loaded onto the shuttles, the human teams ready to begin their mission. Operation Bootstrap was about to begin. The fleet of human spacecraft made their way toward the massive alien vessels, their small, rugged forms seeming tiny in comparison to the sleek, advanced ships they were about to board. Inside his shuttle, Ray watched his team make final checks on their equipment. The spacesuits they wore were the latest Earth had to offer, though they probably looked ancient to the aliens. Everything had been meticulously prepared. "All teams report ready," Maria, one of the lead engineers, announced from her station. "We've got 20 repair crews standing by." The massive docking bay of the Unity, the largest of the alien ships, opened before them, swallowing the human shuttles one by one as they landed. Ray couldn't help but notice how their rugged, practical vessels contrasted with the sleek, otherworldly technology surrounding them. Despite the stark differences in design, one thing remained the same. The human engineers and mechanics had a job to do, and they were ready. "Remember," Ray spoke into the common channel as they prepared to disembark. "Stick to the plan. Basic repairs first, then we test the dampeners. Just like we practiced." The teams deployed from their shuttles, moving with practiced ease despite the zero gravity. They carried tools and materials that would have been familiar to engineers from 50 years ago: welding gear, mechanical dampeners, and reinforced steel joints. These were not the tools of the future but of the past, tools that had been perfected through decades of hands-on experience. Bill's voice crackled over the radio. "First inspection team in position. You should see this, Captain," he said. "The quantum vibrations have really done a number on these support structures." Ray's helmet display flickered to life, showing live feeds from Bill's helmet camera. The damage was clear. The metal around the quantum drive housing showed signs of extreme stress, tiny cracks and warped sections that any experienced mechanic would recognize. The alien engineers, standing by with a mixture of curiosity and concern, watched as the human teams began their work. Chief Builder, hovering nearby in its plant-like form, observed the humans with visible discomfort. "Your methods are unsettling," it commented, its voice tinged with disbelief. "That equipment looks like it belongs in a history museum." Bill, unfazed by the alien skepticism, replied with a chuckle. "Sometimes old tools are the best tools." With that, he struck an arc with the welding torch, and the familiar blue glow of the weld spread across the metal, joining the new support structure to the old. The work continued for hours, each team performing their task with precision. Team after team reported similar findings. The quantum drive's vibrations had weakened crucial support structures throughout the ships. It was a problem that any construction worker, bridge builder, or mechanic would have anticipated, but the alien focus on advanced technology had made them overlook the basics of engineering. "Installing dampeners on Section 3, Maria reported. Her team was busy fitting specially designed shock absorbers between the quantum housing and the main support structure. The dampeners were simple by alien standards, just springs, hydraulics, and reinforced metal, but they were proven technology. The first test came 6 hours into the operation. Ray watched from the control room as the aliens powered up a small section of the quantum drive. The new dampeners hummed as they absorbed the vibrations, doing their job exactly as designed. Reading zero harmonic resonance, one of the alien technicians announced, its translator struggling to hide its surprise. The support structure is stable. A cheer went up from the human teams, their relief palpable. Even first speaker's color-shifting skin showed what seemed to be positive emotions. Proceed with the full repair, it authorized, its voice tinged with a note of approval. Install these dampeners on all ships in the fleet. The work expanded as the human teams moved from ship to ship, repeating the same basic repairs. It wasn't glamorous work, welding joints, fitting dampeners, reinforcing the steel supports, but it was essential. The alien ships were now stable, thanks to the human engineers' simple, yet effective solutions. They had solved a problem that the most advanced species in the galaxy could not have anticipated. In doing so, they had proven that, sometimes, the most effective solutions weren't the most complicated, they were the simplest. As the operation neared its conclusion, Captain Ray found himself standing in front of a viewport, gazing out at the Earth. It appeared barely visible, a tiny blue dot on the distant horizon. Beside him, Bill Cooper stood, his hands resting on the glass, wiping the sweat from his forehead after a long, exhausting day of work. It was a moment of rare reflection. The task they had just completed was, in a way, both monumental and humbling. Bill chuckled to himself, shaking his head. "Funny, isn't it?" he said, his voice tinged with both amusement and disbelief. "All their quantum mechanics and artificial gravity, and what they really needed was a good mechanic with a welding torch." Ray smiled, the exhaustion of the past few days weighing on him, but a deep sense of satisfaction beginning to settle in. "Sometimes the simple solutions are the best ones," he agreed, his voice carrying the weight of someone who knew that sometimes, the most straightforward answer was the one that worked. The alien engineers had been so focused on the complexities of quantum technology, they had overlooked the basics, the physical structures that held everything together. They had designed a sophisticated system to power their fleet, but they hadn't accounted for something as simple as vibration resonance. A mistake that the human teams, using old-fashioned tools and hands-on knowledge, had identified and corrected. Ray reflected on how the aliens had been so confident in their advanced technology, believing it was infallible. Yet, when faced with a problem that required practical, mechanical thinking, they had faltered. Their technology was extraordinary, but without understanding the fundamental laws of physics and material strength, it had failed to account for the simplest form of stress, vibration. Humans had recognized the issue right away, and using basic tools, welding torches, mechanical dampeners, and reinforced steel, they had repaired the damage and saved the fleet. As the final tests were completed and the quantum drives powered up across the fleet, Ray felt a surge of pride for the team. Each repair had gone according to plan. The dampeners worked as intended, absorbing the vibrations and protecting the support structures. The operation had been a resounding success. The alien fleet was now stable, thanks to the practical ingenuity of the human engineers. One by one, the human teams completed their repairs, and as the last of the work was finished, first speaker called them all together for an announcement. The room fell silent as the alien leader addressed them, its skin shifting through colors Ray had never seen before, signaling a deep emotion that the translator struggled to convey. "Your primitive methods have succeeded where our advanced technology failed," first speaker admitted, its voice filled with a mixture of awe and perhaps even humility. "Perhaps we were wrong to dismiss humanity as undeveloped. There is wisdom in remembering the fundamentals. Ray looked out over the assembled human teams, tired but proud. They had just saved an alien fleet using technology that was centuries behind the aliens' own, but it wasn't about the tools they had used. It was about the way they had approached the problem. The aliens had been so focused on the complexities of quantum fields and cutting-edge technologies that they had overlooked the basic principles of engineering. They had forgotten the simple truth that even the most advanced systems relied on fundamental mechanical principles. Principles that humanity had honed over generations. It was a reminder that sometimes being primitive wasn't a disadvantage. It meant being practical, adaptable, and capable of solving real-world problems with hands-on solutions. A week later, the Unity's Great Hall hosted an unusual gathering. Humans and aliens sat together, sharing knowledge and experiences in a spirit of mutual respect. Ray observed as Bill Cooper demonstrated basic mechanical principles to a group of alien engineers. Using nothing but a wrench and a bearing, Bill explained, "You see, sometimes the simplest parts are the most important." He spun the bearing in his hand, showing the aliens how everything complex is built on basic foundations. The alien engineers, who had once dismissed human technology as primitive, now watched in fascination, recording every word and gesture Bill made. Chief Builder, standing nearby, nodded thoughtfully. "We became so focused on quantum mechanics and artificial gravity," it admitted, its bark-like surface creaking as it spoke. "We forgot about the physical laws that make it all possible." Across the hall, Maria Das worked alongside a group of alien structural engineers, showing them Earth's methods for testing material stress and fatigue. Her simple demonstrations, using nothing more than steel bars and pressure gauges, captivated the aliens who had relied solely on quantum sensors for such measurements. "Your methods are refreshingly direct," one of the alien engineers remarked, its crystalline form glittering as it handled the Earth-made testing equipment. "No complex calibrations, no quantum field adjustments, just pure mechanical understanding." First speaker approached Ray as he observed the exchanges, its skin now displaying warm, respectful colors. Very different from the dismissive hues it had shown when they first met. "Captain," it said, its voice tinged with a sense of newfound respect. "We have been discussing your species' potential role in the coalition. Your people have shown us something valuable, something we have forgotten in our rush toward advanced technology." Ray raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, and what's that?" he asked. "The importance of understanding the basics," first speaker replied. "Many of our younger engineers can manipulate quantum fields, but they cannot repair a simple mechanical joint." Its voice held a note of regret, as though acknowledging a weakness that had developed within their own technological culture. The aliens had become so reliant on advanced systems and diagnostic tools that they had forgotten the value of the hands-on practical skills that had built their civilization. The exchange of knowledge had gone both ways. While the humans had taught the aliens about the importance of basic mechanical principles, the aliens had shared their vast understanding of advanced technology with the humans. Though they were careful not to reveal anything too advanced, they had focused on helping humanity understand the theoretical foundations of their technology. In one corner of the hall, a group of alien scientists watched in fascination as human engineers demonstrated old-fashioned troubleshooting techniques. The aliens had become so dependent on diagnostic computers that the idea of using sound, vibration, and touch to identify problems seemed almost magical to them. "Listen," a veteran mechanic said, placing his wrench against a pipe. "The sound tells you everything you need to know about what's happening inside. No computer needed." The aliens were particularly impressed by humanity's ability to improvise and adapt during the repairs. The human teams had modified their tools and techniques on the spot to deal with unexpected problems, something the aliens' rigid, procedure-based approach had failed to anticipate. "Your species has a unique way of thinking," Lifekeeper observed, its fluid form rippling with interest. "You don't just solve problems, you imagine new ways to solve them." As the day progressed, Ray began to notice something important happening. The initial barriers between humans and aliens, the sense of superiority on one side and defensiveness on the other, were breaking down. Both groups were learning from each other, recognizing that the true advancement came from combining the best of both approaches. The human engineers had shown the aliens that there was value in simplicity, in the ability to break things down to their basic principles and apply them in a practical way. And in return, the aliens had shown humanity the power of advanced knowledge, the potential of theoretical concepts that could shape the future. "I never thought I'd see this," Maria said, joining Ray at his observation point. "Aliens with technology centuries ahead of ours, eagerly learning about basic mechanics and engineering." She shook her head in disbelief, still marveling at the turn of events. Ray smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. They've learned what every good engineer knows, he replied. You can't skip the fundamentals. All their advanced technology is built on basic physical principles, the same ones we've been studying for centuries. The room fell quiet as first speaker gathered everyone's attention for one final announcement. Its skin shifted through a range of colors, signaling the importance of what was about to be said. The air was thick with anticipation as the alien leader prepared to speak, its voice carrying the weight of a new understanding. A realization that sometimes true progress wasn't about the latest technology or the most advanced tools. It was about remembering the basics and applying them in practical, meaningful ways. As the farewell ceremony unfolded on the Unity's observation deck, the atmosphere was charged with excitement and pride. The hall was filled with both human and alien representatives, their initial wariness and mistrust replaced by an undeniable respect. The presence of both species together, side by side, was a testament to the success of the past month's collaborative efforts. Captain Ray stood at the front of the crowd, his eyes scanning the vast fleet of alien ships, now perfectly balanced with their quantum drives humming steadily, a direct result of the work his team had done. Bill, the seasoned mechanic who had played a crucial role in the repairs, looked out at the fleet and sighed. Hard to believe it's only been a month, he remarked, still wiping grease from his hands after his final inspection. Feels like we've lived a lifetime out here. Ray smiled at the sentiment, recognizing the truth in Bill's words. The challenges they had faced, the problems they had solved, the bonds they had built, had all come to feel like part of a much longer journey than just a few weeks. The tension between humans and aliens that had existed when they first arrived had gradually dissolved, replaced by mutual respect. Even the most advanced alien engineers who had once scoffed at human technology, now carried simple human tools alongside their high-tech quantum scanners. It was a symbolic gesture, one that signified not just the importance of what humanity had contributed to the repairs, but also a deeper understanding of the value in the simplest of tools. First speaker, the alien leader, stepped forward, its skin shimmering with formal colors. The coalition had made its decision, and this moment was more than just a celebration of successful repairs, it was the beginning of something much greater. Before we part, first speaker announced, the coalition has prepared something for humanity. It gestured to Chief Builder, who had been standing nearby, waiting for this moment. At first speaker's signal, Chief Builder activated a holographic display that projected intricate plans for a new space station. The station was designed as a joint project, a collaborative effort between humanity and the alien species. It would be built in Earth's orbit, a symbol of the unity and cooperation between the two civilizations. The station was not just a monument to technological achievement, it was to serve as a center for both technological and cultural exchange. Chief Builder's leaf-green eyes glimmered with excitement as it explained the details of the project. This facility, it said, will combine your practical engineering wisdom with our advanced technology. Together, both our civilizations will grow stronger. Maria, ever the engineer, leaned forward to examine the plans closely. You've incorporated our basic structural principles, she noted, pointing to familiar engineering elements in the design. The aliens had clearly paid attention to the lessons humanity had taught them. Chief Builder acknowledged the observation with a nod. Yes, it said, we have learned that the path forward isn't about abandoning the basics for advanced technology. It's about building the advanced upon a solid foundation of fundamental knowledge. Lifekeeper, an alien with a fluid, almost ethereal form, moved forward as well, catching the starlight with its shifting surface. It too had something to contribute. We have also prepared data packages for your scientists, Lifekeeper said, its voice carrying an air of cautious optimism. Nothing too advanced. We don't want to disrupt your natural development, but enough to help you solve some pressing problems. Clean energy, medical advances, and more. First speaker, who had been standing beside Lifekeeper, nodded in agreement. But more importantly, it added, we want to learn from you. Your species has something rare in the galaxy, the ability to understand complex problems at their most basic level and solve them with elegant simplicity. The aliens had come to realize that, in their pursuit of the advanced and the complex, they had overlooked something crucial, the power of simplicity and fundamental knowledge. What they had learned from the humans was invaluable. That technology, no matter how sophisticated, could not stand without a solid foundation in the basic principles of science, engineering, and problem-solving. The ceremony continued, and humans and aliens exchanged gifts, knowledge, and wisdom. The aliens presented Earth with some of their simpler technologies, Tools and devices that were revolutionary by human standards but were considered relatively basic by the aliens. In return, humans shared manuals, training programs, and techniques that focused on fundamental engineering and problem-solving. The exchange wasn't just about handing over materials or knowledge. It was about sharing philosophies, worldviews, and the understanding that both civilizations had something unique to offer. Bill, standing off to the side with a group of alien engineers, smiled as he watched the aliens interact with the simple tools they had once deemed primitive. "You know," Bill said, addressing the aliens with a grin, "when we first got here, you all thought we were primitive because we still used wrenches and welding torches. Now look at you, carrying our primitive tools like they're precious gems." His words, though simple, captured the essence of the transformation that had occurred over the past month. The aliens who had once scoffed at humanity's rudimentary tools, now valued them. One alien engineer, holding up a combination wrench with both human and alien measurements inscribed on it, perfectly mimicked Bill's favorite phrase, "Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The laughter that followed was not just an acknowledgement of Bill's wit, it was a recognition of the value in simplicity, and of the wisdom that had been exchanged between the two species. The relationship between humanity and the aliens had changed irreversibly. What had started as an effort to rescue a stranded fleet had turned into something much more meaningful, a partnership that would continue to evolve and grow. As the ceremony drew to a close, first speaker addressed the gathered crowd one final time. Its skin shifted through a range of colors that humanity had never seen before, perhaps signaling hope or optimism for the future. "When we sent that distress call," first speaker began, its voice carrying a deep sincerity, "we expected either silence or useless offers of help. Instead we found partners. Your species reminded us that true advancement isn't about abandoning the past, it's about building upon it wisely." Captain Ray stepped forward to give humanity's response. He looked out at the assembled crowd, at the alien faces, at his own team, all standing together in this historic moment. "We came here thinking we were rescuing a stranded fleet," Ray said, his voice steady and clear. "Instead, we found our place in the galaxy, not as the most advanced civilization but as one with valuable knowledge to share. We are not the keepers of all the answers, but we have something important to offer. And we've shown that sometimes, even in an advanced galaxy, the most practical solutions are still the best ones." The departure sequence began soon after, and one by one the massive alien ships powered up their quantum drives. Now the drives ran smoothly, thanks to the dampeners humanity had installed. Dampeners that absorbed the harmful vibrations that had previously threatened to destabilize the ships. The technology, though considered basic by the aliens, had saved the fleet. The dampeners worked just as they had in the old combustion engines and heavy machinery of Earth, using simple principles of mechanical engineering that had been passed down through generations. From the observation deck, Ray and his team watched as the fleet prepared to leave. But they weren't watching as primitive humans in awe of advanced aliens anymore. They were watching as equals, two civilizations that had shared knowledge and learned from each other. Both species had grown, both had contributed, and both had gained a deeper understanding of the universe and of one another. As the alien fleet prepared to jump into quantum space, Maria turned to Ray, her face reflecting a mixture of curiosity and excitement. "So," she asked, "what's next for humanity?" Ray smiled, looking out at the ships that had once seemed so distant and unreachable. "We keep doing what we've always done," he replied. "We solve problems. We build things. We share what we know. And now we do it on a much bigger scale." The departure was not the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter for both humanity and the alien species. And as the ships powered up and disappeared into the vastness of space, both humans and aliens knew that they had just started down a path that would lead to far greater things. Sometimes, the best way to reach the stars was to remember where you came from, and build from there.